To do today in the garden is I am going to plant the Jerusalem artichokes in this little raised bed here. I have filled this raised bed here with a load of compost and soil that was in a load of plant pots that I had, and I moved a lot of the plants into the bed underneath the willow tree. So I wanted to reuse that soil, and I thought, well, I might as well pop it in this bed that I'm going to plant the Jerusalem artichokes in. So that's what I've done. So I've managed to fill that up. It's been settling for a couple of days and it has gone down a little bit. So I've actually put in just a little bit more just to fill it up to the top. Now I managed to, before I left the allotment, I dug up some artichokes, some Jerusalem artichokes, and I planted them in a couple of 6-inch pots. Quite a few of them, left them in the greenhouse, and they all sort of shot up, and I thought, well, that's great because I can take some and move them here, which is exactly what I've done. Now they have, obviously they were in these pots here, couple this size, okay, so they shot up, they sent up green shoots, and obviously because I didn't harvest the Jerusalem artichokes that were in there, they actually sort of have disappeared, but they have left lots of little tiny Jerusalem artichokes that are all about ½ an inch long. So I'm going through the soil and I'm finding those, and I'm going to put these into the bed here, into the soil that's here. So let me show you some of the tiny little ones that I found. So if we look through here, hopefully you can see there's a little one there, there's another little one there, that one is actually slightly bigger. Now it doesn't matter what size your Jerusalem artichokes are excuse me, because they will grow much bigger the following year. If when you dig them up you find that there are some which are just too small, you just stick them back in the soil anyway, and then you let them grow for just a little bit longer. So maybe you'll harvest them the following year, or maybe even the year afterwards. So I might harvest these this time next year, but I don't know, we'll just have to see how they go. But as you can see, there are an awful lot of them, but they're all very tiny, but that's fine. That really doesn't bother me in the slightest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out as many as I can find, and then I am, oh look, that one's quite a large one. I am going to plant them in the raised bed. So let me show you how you need to plant these. Now it's very easy to plant your Jerusalem artichokes. Obviously if you do order some, they will, when they arrive, they will actually be much bigger than this, but you will plant them in exactly the same way. So I've actually got 3 joined together here, so I will leave those 3 together. So you basically need to plant these about 4 inches down into the soil, and then spread them about 6 inches apart from each other, because that will then give them lots of space to spread. So I'm actually going to sort of just pop them on top of the soil. Because these are quite small, I'm actually just going to sprinkle them round, to be honest with you. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that if there are some that are close together, it doesn't matter, because you will plant them 6 inches apart from each other and 4 inches down. But then when you come to if you harvest them next year at the end of the summer, and there are some that are just small, you're just going to shove them straight back in the soil again. So they might be very, very close to another one. So they're not really that fussy. So I'm just going to push them down and then just cover them up with soil. And once I've done all of these, I'll see, and I'll go through that soil, because there are going to be a load more in there anyway, and I'll just find them and I'll just plant them. If you, as you're pushing them down, if you do break any, don't worry, it really doesn't matter. I just broke that one as I pushed that one in, but they are very resilient little souls, so they really won't mind if they do get broken. You'll just then get a couple of extra ones growing. So once I've planted all of these, I'll just give it a little bit of a water, and then they'll be quite happy to just grow away all on their own. So I'll carry on, and when I've finished, I'll come back to you. Right, so I've got all of them in. Just found another one that was sitting on the top. What I did was I took out any of the stems of previous ones that had grown in the pot of the Jerusalem artichokes, and I've just put those, I'm going to put those in the garden waste bin. I have then put any soil that was left in this bed. Do not put any soil that your Jerusalem artichokes were growing in, or any stems where the roots are, in your compost heap, because if there is the tiniest bit of a little Jerusalem artichoke just starting to develop, you will then get Jerusalem artichokes growing. So it's very important to make sure that you keep the soil that your Jerusalem artichokes are growing in the same place, okay? So don't sort of think, oh, I'll just put that in the compost heap and any small ones will sort of rot down and I won't get anything. No, 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 no. They will grow, and then you'll put the compost around the garden, and then you'll have JAs shooting up all over the place. So unless you want to incinerate the compost, and then you'll be safe, but they will spread, and any small amount will just start growing anywhere else. So that's why I've actually kept it here. Somebody did say, was this bed deep enough? Yes, it is. When I grew them out in the open ground, you didn't actually need to dig down that far to find them. Because they're in this bed here, what I'll do is when I harvest them, I'll use a trowel instead of a large fork, because the soil in this bed won't get compacted like it would in a bed. So I won't need the big fork, and hopefully this way, growing them in a small confined space, I won't be overrun with them, because you can start with 6 and then within about 3 years you'll have like hundreds of plants. They really do spread, so this way I can actually keep them under control. So that's these done. Now I'm going to go over into the corner of the area that I need to clear of a load of debris, where I think I might have a little garden friend. So I am going to clear that very, very carefully. I won't get it all done today, but let me show you what I've now got to sort out. Right, so this is the pile of debris that I have to sort out now. This is the pile that I have a feeling I have got a little hedgehog in. There's all sorts of stuff here. There's ivy, of course there's ivy. There's grass, there's stems, there's branches, there's needles from the conifer, there's a dead plant in there somewhere. There's actually a cardboard box over there as well. So this is what I've got to try and sort through. Obviously very, very carefully. So that's what I'm going to start doing. If I do find anything, I will let you know, but I'm going to start from the top, and gradually work my way down. Now, as you can see, the mound is a lot smaller. If you do have a mound of debris in your garden and you suspect that there is something living in there, don't go straight in with the fork. You've got to very slowly remove the pile from the top and gradually work your way down. Because if you suddenly stab the fork in, you might hit the animal and, worst case scenario, kill the animal that's in there. We don't want to do that. Nature is a fabulous thing. So if there is a hedgehog in there, I expect he's a little bit panicky at the moment. So I don't want to scare him any more than I need to. So I've taken quite a lot off. I've filled one of the big hippo bags. I'm going to, actually I've got a little bit more that I need to put in there, but I'm just going to leave this for a little while and go and have a cup of tea, so that if there is anything in there, it's got time to sort of pootle off quite happily before it's scared. But in here there's so much stuff, loads of stuff. But let me show you how to clear it safely. Just get if you've got like a load of grass and a load of compact stuff, just very carefully just sort of put it in just underneath the surface, very slowly lift it out and move it over, and that way you are unlikely to damage the animal that is in there. Okay, just very carefully, very slow movements, so that if there is something in there, it can go away without getting too upset. Okay, I don't want to upset anything that's in there. Okay, but also sort of very slowly pull anything that you can just grab and take away. Okay, again from the top, and gradually work your way down. But I am just going to leave the rest of that for a while, just to have a break and just to let anything that is in there scurry away. There is a massive pile at the back as well, not quite so large, but it goes back a very long way. So it might not be in this big pile, it might be in the smaller one, which is quite wide at the back. So this is going to take quite a while to clear, but I will get there, but I want to do it as delicately as possible. Right, well, as you can see, I've actually made quite a dent in that big mound. The big mound at the front I've practically got rid of, and there's just a smaller mound at the back, but it's all quite sort of spread out. There's more there than you think there is. So this has taken me most of the afternoon to actually get this into the state that it's in. And I have filled up, well, let me show you. Well, I have filled up 2 of these big bags. Now I can fit these 2 in the boot of the car when the back seats are down with a bit of shoving. So these are actually, I could put more in there, but then they'll be quite difficult to actually move out to the car. So, and then I won't be able to squish them in. So I think that's enough for those ones. I have also got a double-sized one here, which is 3/4 full. and there's still a load more to do. So hopefully this weekend I can get rid of these down the tip, and then I can finish clearing the rest of that corner. I have not found Mrs. Tiggy Winkle or Mr. Tiggy Winkle. He wasn't called me, no, he was just called Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, wasn't he? Yet, or any wildlife that is interesting. No mice, nothing. So maybe whoever has, when I started to move the stuff, has either gone or is actually in the back mound. So I am being very, very careful when I move this stuff. But I'm going to have to finish for the day, because I now have to go and start dinner, because I don't know about the kids, but I'm incredibly hungry. Well, I hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you today. I hope you found it interesting. Hopefully by the time I see you next time, I would have cleared that area, so that will be very good, and then I can move on to something else. Bye bye.